The small research ship shook violently as it entered Earth's atmosphere. Lyra Zenvari gripped her control panel with 6 slender blue fingers. Warning lights flashed across her cockpit. She had not meant to get this close to the human planet. It was supposed to be a simple observation mission. Warning. Defense grid detected. Evasive action required, the ship's computer announced in the musical language of the Stellari. Lyra's large silver eyes widened with fear. The humans had spotted her. Her people's records about Earth were clear. Humans were dangerous predators who consumed other species. Her education modules had shown her the historical records intercepted from Earth broadcasts. Creatures called zombies, eating brains. Monsters hunting humans and humans hunting each other in their endless wars. Plotting emergency course correction, she said, her voice calm despite her racing heart. The training of a xenobiologist kept her focused even as danger surrounded her. A bright flash lit up the night sky outside her viewport. Earth's defense systems had fired upon her small craft. The shot missed, but the energy burst disrupted her ship's systems. More alarms blared. Critical damage to propulsion system. Critical damage to navigation. Critical damage to life support, the computer reported. Lyra felt a moment of pure terror. She was going to crash on the planet of predators. The ship spun out of control, hurtling toward the dark landmass below. Trees rushed up to meet her as the craft plunged into a heavily forested mountain region. The impact threw Lyra against her restraints. Pain shot through her slender body. The ship's hull cracked but held together. Emergency systems activated, filling the cabin with a soft blue light. Initiating emergency protocols, the computer said, its voice now breaking up. Atmospheric analysis toxic to Stellari biology. Emergency genetic modification procedure recommended. Do it, Lyra gasped, feeling the ship's toxic detection sensors identifying Earth's nitrogen-oxygen atmosphere flooding through the damaged hull. A medical pod emerged from the wall. Lyra dragged herself into it despite her injuries. The pod sealed around her, injecting modification compounds into her blue skin. The pain was intense but necessary. Without adaptation, Earth's air would kill her in minutes. Modification in progress. Estimated time to completion, 20 Earth minutes. Warning, ship integrity failing. External life forms approaching. Lyra's silver eyes grew wide with fear. External life forms, humans. The thought made her heart race even faster. The monsters from the education modules were coming. Through the cracked viewport, she could see darkness and trees. A beam of light swept across the forest floor, getting closer to her ship. Lyra tried to activate the cloaking system, but it was damaged beyond repair. Send a distress signal to the Stellari fleet, she ordered. Communications damaged. Short-range emergency beacon activated. Estimated range. 1 planetary rotation orbit only. The light outside grew brighter. Lyra could hear sounds now. Heavy footsteps crushing the forest floor and a low voice speaking in the harsh human language. Through her semi-conscious state, the ship's partial translator caught fragments. Crash site, call for backup, might be survivors. The modification procedure was only half complete. Lyra felt her lungs burning as they slowly transformed to process Earth's atmosphere. Her vision blurred. The medical pod continued its work, but too slowly. A loud noise came from the ship's entrance. Something was trying to get in. The emergency hatch, designed to keep the toxic atmosphere out, was being forced open from the outside. Warning, hull breach imminent, the computer announced. Lyra tried to reach for her research tool, the only thing resembling a weapon on her scientific vessel. Her fingers wouldn't respond properly. The genetic modification was affecting her nervous system temporarily. The hatch gave way with a loud hiss. Earth air rushed in, mixing with the last of her ship's breathable atmosphere. Lyra gasped, her lungs not yet ready for the change. A massive figure appeared in the doorway. To Lyra's adapted night vision, the human looked enormous. It was covered in thick clothing, with a light attached to its head. The light beam hit Lyra's face directly, blinding her. The human said something her translator couldn't catch. It moved closer, stepping into her ship. In Lyra's oxygen-deprived state, the human's form seemed to grow and distort. It reached toward her with a large 5-fingered hand. Lyra's last conscious thought was pure terror. The predator had found her. In her mind, she saw images from the education modules, humans consuming their prey. Her scientific mind tried to remain rational, but fear took over. As darkness claimed her consciousness, one thought echoed. This creature was going to eat her. The human, a park ranger named Daniel Cole, had been on his regular night patrol when he saw the flash in the sky. He had hiked quickly to the crash site expecting to find a small plane or perhaps a meteorite. What he found instead changed everything he thought he knew about the universe. Daniel stared at the unconscious blue-skinned being in the strange pod. Her face looked almost human, but with larger eyes and delicate features that seemed to glow slightly in the darkness. The inside of the craft was like nothing he had ever seen, organic-looking technology pulsing with soft light. "Hello?
Can you hear me?"
He called, reaching toward the alien figure to check for signs of life. The being didn't respond, but he could see her chest rising and falling slightly. She was alive, but clearly in distress. Daniel made a quick decision. The crashed ship was leaking strange fluids and making alarming noises. It wasn't safe to leave her here. With gentle movements that belied his large frame, he carefully lifted the alien from the medical pod. She weighed surprisingly little. "I'm going to help you," he said, knowing she couldn't understand him. "You're going to be okay." As he carried her from the wreckage, the ship's computer made one final announcement in a language he couldn't comprehend. The medical protocol would continue within her body, allowing her to eventually breathe Earth's air. The ship's self-repair systems activated, sealing the most critical damage to prevent complete destruction. Daniel carried Lyra through the dark forest toward his cabin, unaware that her ship was already sending out an emergency signal. Unaware that her people would come looking for her. Unaware that a secret government agency had already detected the crash and was mobilizing, and completely unaware that the delicate blue being in his arms believed he was taking her away to be eaten. The walk to the crash site was difficult. Lyra struggled through the snow. Her legs were not made for this kind of terrain. Daniel stayed close, ready to help her if she fell. Twice he had to catch her arm when she slipped on hidden ice. Lyra's ship looked smaller in the daylight. The sleek oval craft had dug a deep groove in the forest floor. Trees had snapped under its impact. The hull was damaged but not destroyed. The self-repair systems had been working. The worst cracks were sealed with a hardened blue substance. Daniel whistled softly when they reached the ship. He walked around it, examining the strange technology with obvious wonder. Lyra went straight to the entry hatch. It opened at her touch, recognizing her Stellari DNA. Inside, the ship was dark. Emergency power only. Lyra moved quickly to the control panel and pressed a sequence of buttons. Lights flickered on and a soft hum filled the air as more systems came back online. "Status report," Lyra said in her language. The ship's computer responded with a series of musical tones. "Life support minimal. Propulsion offline. Communications limited. Self-repair in progress. Estimated time to basic flight capability, 72 Earth hours. 3 Earth days." Lyra would be stranded for 3 days. She opened a storage compartment and took out her personal translator device. It was undamaged. She attached it to her wrist and activated it. Daniel had followed her into the ship. He stared at everything with wide eyes. When he spoke, his words were now translated into Stellari in Lyra's mind. "This is incredible. You're really not from Earth." Lyra turned to face him. "I am Lyra Zenvari, xenobiologist of the Stellari Exploration Division." The translator converted her words to English. Daniel's mouth opened in surprise. "You can understand me now?" "Yes, this device translates your language." Lyra still kept her distance, unsure of his intentions despite his help. "I'm Daniel Cole. I'm a park ranger. I watch over this forest." He gestured around. "Are you okay? Are you hurt? My body has been modified to survive your atmosphere. I am functioning adequately." Lyra studied him. "Why have you not attempted to consume me?" Daniel's expression changed to shock. "Consume you?
You mean eat you?
Why would I do that?" "All Stellari records indicate humans are dangerous predators who consume other species." Lyra's silver eyes narrowed. "Your historical broadcasts show this clearly." Daniel looked confused, then understanding dawned on his face. "Wait, what broadcasts have you seen?" "We have intercepted many Earth transmissions. Documentaries of humans hunting. Images of creatures called zombies eating brains. Monsters consuming victims. Wars where humans kill each other." A strange sound came from Daniel. He was laughing. "Those aren't documentaries. They're movies, TV shows, fiction, entertainment." He shook his head. We don't eat other species. Well, not intelligent ones anyway. Lyra processed this information. Could it be true? Had the Stellari misinterpreted human entertainment as historical record? It seemed possible. Her people had been observing Earth from a distance for decades, never making contact, forming theories based on limited information. Your kitchen contains many sharp implements, Lyra said, still suspicious. For cooking food, vegetables, some meat from non-intelligent animals. Daniel held up his hands. I promise I have no plans to eat you. The ship's computer interrupted with an alert tone. Warning! Earth vehicles approaching. Multiple heat signatures detected. Lyra moved to the viewport. Through the trees, she could see black vehicles moving along a distant road, stopping at the point closest to the crash. Who are they? She asked Daniel. His face grew serious. Probably government, military or some agency. They must have detected your crash. He looked worried. This isn't good. They'll take your ship. They'll take you. Take me where? Lyra asked, fear returning. To study. To question. Daniel ran a hand through his hair. Look, our governments don't officially know about aliens. If they find you, you'll disappear into some secret facility. Lyra felt panic rising. I must leave this planet. Your ship can't fly yet, right? Daniel looked at the damaged craft. You need to hide. Both you and your ship. The computer spoke again. Cloaking system partially repaired. Sufficient power for 72 hours of stationary cloaking. Can your ship become invisible? Daniel asked. Yes. The cloaking system bends light and other detection methods around the hull. Lyra pressed several controls. The ship hummed louder. It is active now. The ship cannot be seen or detected while stationary. What about you? Can you cloak yourself too? No, only the ship. Lyra checked the external sensors. The humans are getting closer. They have detection equipment. Daniel made a quick decision. We need to get back to my cabin. You can hide there until your ship is repaired. Lyra hesitated. The translator had given her the ability to understand Daniel, but could she trust him? He claimed humans didn't eat other species, but what if he was lying? What if these government humans were even worse? She had little choice. I need to take some things. She gathered supplies, including a small device she attached to her belt. This will allow me to monitor the ship's repair progress remotely. They exited the ship. The moment they were clear, the cloaking fully activated. The ship seemed to fade away, leaving only undisturbed snow where it had been. Even the crash trail disappeared from view as the cloaking technology adjusted the light around it. That's amazing, Daniel whispered. He pointed to their footprints in the snow. But we're leaving tracks. They'll follow them. Lyra took a small sphere from her pocket. This will help. She activated it and tossed it into the air. The sphere hovered, then emitted a pulse of energy. The snow around them shifted, covering their tracks. Now we must move quickly, she said. They headed away from the crash site in a different direction than they had come, making a wide circle through the forest. From a ridge, they could see the government vehicles and people in black uniforms spreading out from the road, using handheld devices to sweep the area. Project Sentinel, Daniel said, reading the insignia on a vehicle through his binoculars. Never heard of them. They are looking for alien technology, Lyra said, watching the humans with their equipment. My people have observed similar groups on your planet before. I thought you said your people never made contact with humans, Daniel said. We haven't, but we have been watching. Learning. Lyra looked at him. Your kind is very interesting to us. Dangerous but fascinating. They continued through the forest. The snow had stopped falling, but dark clouds threatened more. Lyra struggled with the cold and the terrain. Her body, though modified, was not designed for Earth's conditions. Daniel noticed her difficulty. Here, lean on me. He offered his arm for support. Lyra hesitated, then accepted his help. As they walked, she realized something important. This human had helped her when she was vulnerable. He had shared food. He was now protecting her from his own kind. Nothing in her education about humans had prepared her for this kindness. Why are you helping me? She finally asked as they neared his cabin. Daniel thought for a moment. Because it's the right thing to do. And because I've always believed we're not alone in the universe. He smiled at her. Finding you is the most amazing thing that's ever happened to me. As they reached the cabin, Lyra's remote device beeped. The ship was sending her a message. What's wrong? Daniel asked, seeing her expression change. My people have received the distress signal. Lyra said, reading the information. They are sending a retrieval team. Is that good? Lyra's silver eyes met his. My mother commands our fleet. If she believes I've been captured by humans, she didn't finish the sentence. She didn't need to. Daniel understood. We have 3 days to prevent an interplanetary incident. He opened the cabin door. Let's get inside before those Sentinel people find us. Lyra woke up slowly. Her head hurt. Her whole body felt strange and heavy. She opened her silver eyes and tried to make sense of where she was. This was not her ship. This was not home. The room had wooden walls. Strange objects hung from hooks. There was a fireplace with actual burning wood in it. Primitive, dangerous, human. The memories rushed back. The crash, the defense grid, the giant human breaking into her ship. Lyra's heart began to race. She was in a human dwelling. According to all Stellari knowledge, this was the worst possible situation. She looked down at herself. She was lying on some kind of sleeping platform covered with soft materials. Her blue skin seemed different, slightly darker than before. The emergency genetic modification must have completed. She took an experimental breath. The air burned slightly, but she could breathe it. A noise came from another room. Heavy footsteps. The human was coming. Lyra tried to get up, but her body felt wrong. The gravity on Earth was stronger than what she was used to. Her muscles strained against the increased pull. She managed to sit up just as the door opened. The human entered the room. In the light, Lyra could see him clearly for the first time. He was tall with brown hair and a face covered in short hair around the mouth and jaw. He wore thick clothes and heavy boots. In his hands, he carried a tray with objects on it. You're awake, the human said. The words meant nothing to Lyra. Her translator was back in the ship. The human approached slowly, holding out the tray. Lyra pressed herself against the wall, trembling. This was it. This was how it would happen. The human was bringing tools to begin the eating process. The human stopped, seeing her fear. He put the tray down on a small table and backed away. He pointed to the items on the tray and spoke again, his voice softer now. Lyra looked at the tray. There were containers filled with colored substances. Food? Was he showing her what he had eaten before, or what he was going to eat next? She remembered the education modules. Humans often displayed their food before consuming it. Please don't eat me, Lyra said in her own language, knowing the human couldn't understand. Her voice shook with fear. The human frowned and pointed to himself. Daniel, he said clearly, was that a type of eating ritual? Lyra didn't know. She pointed to the window. Maybe he would understand she wanted to leave. The human, Daniel, shook his head. He walked to the window and pulled back a covering. Lyra could see it was snowing heavily outside. White flakes filled the air. The temperature must be dangerously low for her modified but still vulnerable body. Daniel pointed to the snow, then made a shivering motion with his body. Then he pointed to Lyra in the bed. The message seemed clear enough. She couldn't leave in this weather. Lyra felt trapped. She needed to find a way to communicate. To make this human understand she was not food. She needed her translator from the ship. She tried to mime typing on controls. Daniel watched her, his face showing confusion. She pointed to herself, then made a flying motion with her hand, then pointed in the direction she thought her ship might be. Understanding dawned on Daniel's face. He nodded and pointed in a slightly different direction, then held up 5 fingers, followed by making a walking motion. Was he saying her ship was a 5-minute walk away? Or 5 hours? Lyra wasn't sure. Daniel pointed to the snow again and shook his head. Then he pointed to a timepiece on the wall and then to the window. Perhaps he was saying they would go when the weather improved. Lyra felt slightly relieved. If he was willing to take her back to her ship, maybe he wasn't planning to eat her immediately. Still, she remained wary. The kitchen area she could see through the doorway looked frightening, filled with sharp metal objects that could easily be used for cutting flesh. Daniel picked up one of the containers from the tray and took a small amount of the substance inside. He put it in his mouth and swallowed, then offered the container to Lyra. Was this a trick? Was he showing her that it wasn't poisoned before feeding her something to make her taste better? Her scientific mind fought with her fear. The logical part of her knew she needed nutrition to recover her strength. If she was going to escape, she needed energy. The human substance might not be compatible with her biology, even with the modifications, but she had to try something. With a trembling hand, Lyra took the container. It held a thick white substance. She sniffed it cautiously. It didn't smell dangerous. She put the tiniest amount on her finger and touched it to her tongue. It was sweet, different from Stellari food but not unpleasant. Her modified body didn't reject it immediately, which was a good sign. She took a small spoonful and ate it. Daniel smiled. Was that a good sign? Stellari smiled too, but what did it mean for humans? Was he pleased she was eating or pleased she would taste better now? For the next hour, Daniel brought various foods for Lyra to try. Some she could eat, others made her feel sick immediately. They developed a simple system. If she could eat it, she would nod. If not, she would shake her head. By the end of this strange meal, Lyra was feeling stronger. The snow outside had lightened somewhat. She pointed to the window again, then to herself, then made the flying motion. Daniel seemed to understand. He held up a finger in what Lyra interpreted as a wait gesture. He left the room and returned with thick outer garments. He helped Lyra put them on, the clothing much too large for her slender frame. As they prepared to leave the cabin, Lyra still felt fear, but also curiosity. This human had fed her instead of eating her. He was helping her return to her ship. Nothing in her education about humans had prepared her for this. The cold air hit Lyra like a physical blow when they stepped outside. Even with the genetic modifications and the extra clothing, Earth's winter was harsh on her Stellari biology. Daniel noticed her discomfort and walked slowly, checking on her often. The forest looked different in daylight. Tall trees covered in snow surrounded them. In the distance, Lyra could see a thin trail of smoke rising from where her ship had crashed. Her spirits lifted. Soon she would have her translator. Soon she could communicate properly with this strange human who defied all her expectations. Dawn broke over the forest with a pale winter light. Inside her ship, Lyra had not slept. She monitored the repair systems and kept watch for Daniel's return. The night had been tense. Twice, Sentinel search teams had come within yards of the cloaked ship. Each time, Lyra had held her breath, watching their heat signatures on the sensor display. Daniel's distraction had worked. He had created what looked like crashed debris several miles away, using parts Lyra had given him from the ship's external sensors. The Sentinel teams had split up, with most heading toward the false site. But now morning had come and Daniel had not returned. The ship's computer gave an update. Flight systems at 95%. Communications partially restored. Cloaking field stable but diminishing. Lyra made a decision. She needed to find Daniel. Using the ship's sensors, she scanned the forest. Human heat signatures appeared as bright spots on the display. Most were clustered at the Sentinel base camp or the false crash site. One lone signature was moving slowly toward the ship, still about a mile away. Daniel. But there was something wrong. He was moving too slowly and his heat pattern was irregular. Lyra focused the sensors. Daniel appeared to be limping, and his body temperature was lower than it should be. He was injured. Lyra faced a difficult choice. The ship was almost ready to fly. In an hour she could leave Earth, but Daniel was in trouble, possibly because of her. The Stellari code was clear. Never interfere with less advanced species. Never reveal yourself. Never form attachments. Lyra ignored the code. She left the ship, activating the personal cloaking device she had taken from the emergency supplies. It wouldn't hide her completely, but it would blur her outline, making her difficult to see in the forest. She moved as quickly as she could through the snow, following the sensor readings on her wrist device. The cold bit at her blue skin, but the genetic modifications held. As she got closer, she could see Daniel's tracks in the snow, uneven, sometimes showing where he had fallen. Finally, she found him. He was sitting against a tree, his face pale with cold and pain. His left leg was bloody where he had torn his pants. When he saw Lyra's blurred form approaching, he tried to stand but couldn't. "Stay still," Lyra said, deactivating her cloaking device. "You're injured." "Sentinel patrol," Daniel said through chattering teeth. "I got away, but not before one of them shot at me. Just grazed me, but I fell down a ravine." He tried to smile. "Did the distraction work?" "Yes, the ship is almost repaired." Lyra examined his leg. The wound wasn't deep, but he had lost blood, and the cold was affecting him badly. "Can you walk if I help you?" "I'll try." With Lyra's support, Daniel managed to stand, leaning heavily on her. Their progress back to the ship was slow. Twice they had to hide as Sentinel patrols passed nearby. Daniel grew weaker with each step, the cold and blood loss taking their toll. When they finally reached the ship, he was barely conscious. Lyra helped him inside and sealed the hatch. The warmth of the ship's interior seemed to revive Daniel somewhat. Lyra guided him to the medical area and activated the scanner. "Your body temperature is dangerously low," she said, reading the results. "And the wound, though not serious, is infected. Just need to rest," Daniel mumbled. "No, you need treatment." Lyra prepared the medical system. "This will help, but it's designed for Stellari physiology. I've adjusted it as much as possible for human biology." Daniel looked at the strange medical device with apprehension. "Is it safe?" "Safer than freezing to death or succumbing to infection." Lyra helped him onto the medical platform. "Trust me." Their eyes met, and Daniel nodded. Lyra activated the system. A soft blue light enveloped Daniel's body. He gasped, then relaxed as the pain began to fade. The system worked to raise his core temperature and fight the infection in his wound. While Daniel rested under the medical field, Lyra returned to the ship's controls. The repair progress was at 98%. Almost flight ready. She checked the communication system and found a message waiting. It was from her mother. The battlecruiser had received Lyra's transmission and acknowledged it, but Admiral Varen still intended to enter Earth orbit within hours. The message was clear: be ready for extraction. Any signs of human hostility would be met with force. Lyra glanced at Daniel, now sleeping peacefully under the healing field. She had to prevent a conflict between her mother's forces and Earth's defenses. But how? The answer came in the form of an alert from the ship's sensors. A large Sentinel team was approaching, led by a woman in a black uniform. They had detection equipment more advanced than what they'd used before. The cloaking field wouldn't hide the ship for long. Lyra woke Daniel. "We have a problem. Sentinel is coming and my mother's ship will arrive soon." Daniel sat up, his color much improved. He tested his leg and found the pain greatly reduced. "What's the plan?" "I need to reach both sides, make them understand there's no threat." Lyra checked the ship's status. "We can fly now, but not far. Just enough to reach a clearing where my mother's shuttle can land." "And what about Sentinel?" "That's where you come in." Lyra explained her idea. It was dangerous, but it might work. 20 minutes later, the Sentinel team reached the location of Lyra's ship. Their leader, Agent Olivia Reeves, held a device that was clearly detecting something despite the cloaking field. "It's here," she said to her team. "Prepare to breach unknown technology." Before they could act, Daniel stepped out from behind a tree, his hands raised. "Agent Reeves? I'm Daniel Cole, Park Ranger. I think we should talk." Guns immediately pointed at him. Reeves approached cautiously. "How do you know my name?" "Because I've been talking with our visitor." Daniel lowered his hands slowly. "And she's not a threat." "Visitor?" Reeves's eyes narrowed. "You've had contact with an extraterrestrial entity?" "Yes, and right now her mother's spaceship is approaching Earth. It's a battleship, Agent Reeves, with weapons that could cause serious damage." This got Reeves's attention. "Where is this visitor now?" As if on cue, the cloaking field deactivated. Lyra's ship appeared before them, its sleek form now fully repaired. The hatch opened, and Lyra stood there, her blue skin and silver eyes shocking the Sentinel agents. Some raised their weapons again. "I am Lyra Zenvari of the Stellari," she said, her translator converting her words to English. "My ship crashed here 3 days ago. This human Daniel Cole helped me survive. He did not capture me or harm me." Reeves stared at Lyra, then at her ship. "Stand down," she ordered her team. To Lyra, she said, "What are your intentions?" "To leave peacefully, but we have little time." Lyra pointed to the sky. "My mother commands a battlecruiser that will reach Earth orbit within the hour. If she sees your weapons pointed at me, she will consider it an act of aggression." As if to emphasize her point, the ship's communication system crackled. A voice spoke in the musical Stellari language, then was translated to English. "Lyra Zenvari, this is Fleet Admiral Varen. We have entered Earth orbit. Prepare for extraction. Any human resistance will be neutralized." Reeves's face hardened. "Is that a threat?" "It's a misunderstanding," Daniel said quickly. "The Stellari think humans are dangerous predators who eat other species. They've only seen our movies and TV shows. They think zombie films are documentaries." Despite the tension, a few Sentinel agents couldn't help but laugh. Reeves herself almost smiled. "That's quite a misunderstanding." Yes, Lyra said. My time here has shown me how wrong we were. Humans are complex, capable of both destruction and great kindness. She looked at Daniel. I need to show my people the truth. Reeves considered this. And if we let you go, what happens next? I return to my people. I correct our records about humans. Perhaps in time, official contact could be established. Lyra's silver eyes met Reeves's. But that must be a choice both our species make together, with full understanding. A new voice came from the ship's communication system. Lyra, I'm detecting weapons pointed at you. Preparing orbital strike. No, Mother! Lyra shouted. These humans are not threatening me. They're talking, communicating. Lower your weapons, please. There was a tense pause. Then Admiral Varen spoke again. Very well. You have 1 Earth hour to explain the situation. After that, I expect you to return to the fleet. Reeves turned to her team. Lower your weapons. All of you. For the next hour in the clearing beside the ship, Lyra and Daniel explained everything to both Agent Reeves and Admiral Varen via the ship's communication system. They told of the crash, the misunderstandings, and the growing trust between them. So you see, Mother, Lyra concluded, humans don't eat other species. They have fiction, stories they create for entertainment. What we thought were historical records were just these stories. Admiral Varen's voice had lost some of its hardness. This is unexpected. Our entire assessment of human danger has been based on misinterpretation? Yes, Lyra said. They are capable of violence, but also of great compassion. She looked at Daniel. This human risked his life to help me when I was vulnerable. There was a long silence from orbit. Finally, Admiral Varen spoke again. I will report this to the High Council. Our approach to Earth must be reconsidered. To Reeves, she added, Agent of Earth, we have no hostile intentions toward your world. This was a rescue mission only. The next morning, Lyra stood by the window of Daniel's cabin watching for signs of the Project Sentinel agents. Her remote device showed that the ship's repairs were progressing, but too slowly. According to the latest update, a Stellari battlecruiser had entered the solar system and would reach Earth in 2 days. My mother is not known for her patience, Lyra said, when Daniel brought her a cup of the hot liquid he called coffee. She had tried it and found it stimulating to her system. Fleet Admiral Nix Varen has fought in 3 interstellar conflicts. She sees threats everywhere. And what does she think of humans? Daniel asked, sitting down at his small table. The same as most, Stellari, that you are dangerous predators. Lyra turned from the window. I need to send her a message, tell her I am safe, but my ship's communication system is limited to the emergency beacon. Daniel thought for a moment. What about using my radio equipment? Could you modify it to reach your people? Lyra considered this. Perhaps. Show me what you have. Daniel led her to a small room filled with communications equipment. He was a park ranger, responsible for a large area of wilderness, and needed to stay in contact with other rangers and emergency services. It's primitive compared to your technology, he said, but it's powerful. I can reach the next state on clear days. Lyra examined the equipment. I would need parts from my ship to boost the signal enough to reach orbit. She looked at Daniel. We would need to return to the crash site. Those Sentinel people are still searching the area. Daniel frowned. I saw their vehicles from the ridge this morning. Lyra's remote device beeped again. She checked it and her expression grew worried. The ship's cloaking system is fluctuating. It may fail before repairs are complete. If they find your ship, could they get inside? No, it is sealed to my biological signature. But they could damage it, prevent it from flying. Lyra paced the small room. I need to stabilize the cloaking system. Daniel made a decision. We'll go tonight. Darkness will give us extra cover. Throughout the day, they prepared. Daniel gathered supplies, flashlights, food, warm clothing. Lyra studied the human maps of the area, planning the safest route to the ship. They avoided the windows, fearful that Sentinel might have expanded their search to include nearby cabins. As dusk fell, they put their plan into action. Dressed in dark clothing, they slipped out the back of the cabin and into the forest. The temperature had dropped further and new snow had fallen, making their progress slow and difficult. From a hill, they could see flashlight beams in the distance. Project Sentinel had set up a base camp near where the crash site should be. They had equipment, large metal devices pointed at the sky and into the forest. Scanner arrays, Lyra whispered. They're trying to penetrate the cloaking field. They circled wide around the Sentinel camp, moving through the darkest parts of the forest. Daniel led the way, his knowledge of the terrain proving invaluable. After an hour of careful movement, they reached the approximate location of the ship. "It should be right here," Daniel whispered, looking at an empty clearing. Lyra took a small device from her pocket. She pressed it against her palm, and it glowed with a soft blue light. The air in front of them shimmered, and a section of the ship's hull became visible. Just an entrance hatch. "Quickly," she said, moving toward the opening. Once inside, Lyra went straight to the control panel. The ship's interior was bathed in the dim blue emergency lighting. She worked rapidly, checking systems, adjusting settings. "The cloaking field is failing faster than expected," she said. "And there's another problem. The self-repair system is focusing on flight systems, not communications." "Can you change its priority?" Daniel asked, looking nervously out the viewport at the distant Sentinel camp. "Yes, but it would delay our departure." Lyra faced a difficult choice. "If I redirect power to communications, we could contact my mother's ship, but our escape would be delayed. And if you focus on repairs? We might leave before she arrives, avoiding any conflict, but if the cloaking fails before repairs are complete..." She didn't need to finish. An alarm sounded from the ship's console. "Warning. Earth scanning technology detected. Cloaking field integrity at 60%. Daniel looked at the readouts over Lyra's shoulder. The alien symbols meant nothing to him, but the declining numbers were clear enough. "They're going to find the ship soon, aren't they?" "Yes." Lyra made her decision. "I need to split the difference. Maintain minimum power to the cloaking field, continue critical flight repairs, and attempt to establish communications." She began rapidly entering commands. Daniel watched her work, amazed by her skill and knowledge. "Is there anything I can do to help?" "Yes, I need components from different parts of the ship." She gave him instructions, showing him which panels to open and which parts to remove. Together they worked to create a communication device powerful enough to reach orbit. Outside, the Sentinel teams were getting closer. Through the viewport, they could see flashlight beams sweeping through the trees just 100 yards away. "They've narrowed down the search area," Daniel said. "We don't have much time." Lyra connected the final components of the makeshift transmitter. "It's ready, but there's a problem. To generate enough power for the signal, I need to divert energy from the cloaking field. How long will the message take to send?" "Approximately 2 Earth minutes." Daniel checked the position of the search teams. "They're still far enough away." "Do it." Lyra activated the transmitter. The ship's lights dimmed as power was redirected. She spoke rapidly in her language, recording a message for her mother. The translator at her wrist converted her words to English for Daniel's benefit. "Mother, I am safe. My ship was damaged but is repairing itself. The humans are not hostile. The one who found me has protected me. Do not attack. I repeat, do not attack. I will contact you again when my ship is flight ready." Lyra out. The message sent, streaking upward from the ship as an invisible beam of data. Lyra quickly restored power to the cloaking field, but the brief energy spike had consequences. "They've detected something," Daniel said, pointing out the viewport. All the Sentinel search teams had suddenly changed direction, moving directly toward the ship. "The cloaking field is back, but they know something is here now." Lyra checked the ship's status. "Flight systems are at 70%. Not enough for safe launch. How long until your mother receives the message?" "It will reach her ship in approximately 8 Earth hours." Daniel's expression grew serious. "And how long until the repairs are complete?" "At the current rate, 15 hours. They looked at each other, understanding the situation. Sentinel would find the ship before it could fly, and before Lyra's mother received the message asking her not to attack. "We need a distraction," Daniel said. "Something to lead them away from here, give the ship time to repair." "What kind of distraction?" Daniel's plan was simple but risky. He would create false evidence of the crash in another location, drawing the Sentinel teams away. Meanwhile, Lyra would remain with the ship, managing the repairs and maintaining the cloaking field as best she could. "It's too dangerous," Lyra protested. "If they catch you." "They won't." Daniel checked his supplies. "I know these woods better than they do. I've been a ranger here for 10 years. Lyra knew it was their best option, but she felt strangely reluctant to let Daniel go. In just 2 days, this human had completely changed her understanding of his species. He had shown kindness, intelligence, and now bravery. "Take this," she said, removing a small device from her belt. "It will help you track the ship if the cloaking field moves position during repairs." Their hands touched as she gave him the device. Lyra felt an unexpected warmth spread through her. Daniel seemed to feel something too. He looked into her silver eyes for a long moment. "I'll be back before dawn," he said softly. "Be ready to boost the cloaking field when I lead them away." As Daniel slipped out of the ship and disappeared into the dark forest, Lyra felt more alone than she had since the crash. She returned to the control panel, monitoring the repair progress and the approaching Sentinel teams. Everything now depended on Daniel's distraction and the ship's self-repair system. Outside, the first flakes of new snow began to fall, covering Daniel's tracks as he moved through the forest, preparing to risk his safety for an alien visitor who had arrived on his planet just 2 days ago. And above the Earth, Fleet Admiral Nyx Varen's battlecruiser continued its approach, its weapon systems ready to defend her daughter from what she believed were dangerous human predators.